the Abscondo Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Abscondo Podcast. So I was thinking today about how when a person is, becoming conscious, spiritually awakening, practicing present moment awareness, you learn to observe your thoughts. You learn not to take every thought seriously, or not to believe that every thought you have is true. But I was thinking, everyone has some crazy thoughts, right? We all have, some of our thoughts are kind of crazy. But how do we know how are we supposed to know which thought is sane and which thought is insane? What is the standard? Which thought should we pay attention to and which thought should we let go of? And I think the way that most people do this is you sort of ask yourself, well, what's normal? Is this thought normal? And the world's religion is normal. Like, how can I be normal? The problem is, what is normal? Who defines it? Is it what you see in the movies, on TV, on the news? Is it what your colleagues think is normal? Is it what your spouse thinks is normal? Is it what your friends think is normal? So, or society in general, or the church, or the government, or who actually defines it? So there's this ongoing war between all these entities and all these institutions, trying to basically define normal so that there's some degree of control over people to go along with that version of normal. And the thing is, we're not really clear on which version of normal to follow, and so we become very confused. So there's a better way to navigate life, to navigate your mind, and that is not to ask yourself whether a thought is normal or not, but whether it is loving or not. So my premise here is that everything loving is real and true, and everything not loving is false and can be let go of. And when you come to align yourself with this kind of faith, that's the end of confusion. And I mean that. It's the total end of confusion in your life, because hey, was that loving, that action, that thought, or not? And if it's not, it's an error. It can be corrected. You can apologize. You can fix it. So a couple things need to happen before a person can come to this understanding and put this into practice. First of all, what do I mean by love? The word love has been used and misused through so many years, so many centuries, that people don't really know what it is. We use it as though we do, but we really don't. We all know we want love. We all know it feels good. Most people think it's something you get in a relationship with one person who's perfect, and it just happens, and it's a feeling, and it's not to be understood. But if that's how you go about love, you're going to find that you may find it at times, but it's never going to be sustainable and lasting because you don't know what you're doing. Sorry. And I didn't know what I was doing in the past either, because we have to learn. We have to unlearn all that damage done to us by the world. And it's a process of remembering the truth about love, which is what we are, which is a cliche, but I'm going to unpack this a little bit. And the topic is way too big for this one podcast, but I'll do what I can here. We have to start to understand that love is a thought system. Yes, it's a feeling. It is certainly a feeling. It's the energy inside of us that when we're unblocked, when everything is wonderful, when we can be ourselves and be accepted and connect with other people who we feel attracted to in some way, it's a wonderful feeling. But it's more than that. It's a way of being. It's a state of being. And everything that we do, everything that is created around us, our reality is a reflection of our thoughts. We have to become very clear in our thoughts. So let's begin to look at what do we really mean by perfect love or unconditional love, which is what I'm talking about here. How do we know whether something is loving or not? First of all, what is love? Where does it come from? I believe that the way humans experience this feeling called love is the feeling of life. It's the force of life coming through the universe. It's what we are. It's the feeling, the energy of what we are. And just by saying that, it's pretty clear that we need to understand that it comes from within us. It's not something we get from some other source, from another person. If it's what we are, if it's that energy, if it's that feeling of just being alive and feeling perfect, it's what you are, so it comes from within. And now we get into this idea of self-love. There's really no way to get to a place where you are aligned with perfect love without going through the process of discovering true self-love, discovering how to love yourself. And it's probably going to take some reading. There are some great books about this. I've talked about this before. Don Miguel Ruiz, Mastery of Love. There's many other books, including, A Course in Miracles to me is the number one. I also wrote a book about it called Be Love. It's a free ebook. Just search for Be Love, How to End Pain by Escaping the Ego, free download. And it kind of summarizes this in a lot more detail than I can go into here in this podcast. But the first step is to understand how to find self-love, how to love yourself, how to forgive yourself, how to know that you're not guilty for anything, how to turn that feeling of love that you're looking for onto yourself, to love yourself as you would love some other person, and for that to be enough for you on some level. And as soon as you can master this, and this is beyond the scope of this podcast, but when you've mastered this, the natural thing that happens next is that you need to extend that love. You want to extend that love. It's flowing so strongly inside of you. And no longer do you feel insecure that someone from the outside is going to, break this love, because they don't have that power, right? The cool thing about self-love is that you have love. You don't have to worry about not having love in your life. You already have it. It's in you, and nobody can threaten it. You don't need someone else to behave perfectly or even to be there, right? You have it. So now that you're secure in that love, now you can go out into the world and begin to extend it to someone else, to many people, perhaps, hopefully, in different ways. And then there comes this question, what do you mean extend love? How do you do that? Well, now we get into the fact that love is a thought system. It's beyond just a feeling or an energy. You have to have your mind has to align with a thought system which allows love to be unblocked, which allows love to do what it does, this mysterious, mystical thing that we all want. Our minds can block it from happening. So a thought system, of love, the thought system of love, the purpose is to unblock you so that love flows from you. And when love flows from you, you don't have problems or challenges that can't be easily overcome. Love is the truth. If you do something in love, it's going to be the right course of action. It's going to work, whether it's in your personal life, whether if you're a parent, whether at work, or if you run a company, or in art, or anything you're doing. How do you channel your love into it? And that's what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about some of the specific qualities of love. Is it fearful? No, love has no fear. Fear is the belief that there's lack everywhere, that we're all vulnerable, that the world is brutal and violent, and we're going to be destroyed. Now, with that mindset, you really can't align with love. Fear is running you. It's a reaction to these assumptions about the world and about your life. So you're not really able to extend love if you believe fear is real. To undo fear, we need a spiritual practice. We need to escape the ego, because the ego is fear. In fact, all these things which love is not, that's what the ego is. The ego is faith in separation, which means you're separate from other people. You're alone in the universe, cut off, vulnerable, and naturally you're very fearful if you believe that. That's what the ego believes. That's the separation, the fall, in religious terms in the Garden of Eden. That's the story of the Garden of Eden, the fall from grace, the creation of ego, fear, pride. So is love prideful? No, love's not prideful. There's no pride in love whatsoever. It's completely humble, right? You're not trying to show off anything. You have no need. Is love possessive or jealous? No, it's not. It's not. It knows that it's not dependent upon one person to be possessed or owned, and it's not jealous of whatever else that person does. Right? What is love? What is the thought system of love? It's giving. And when I say giving, it doesn't mean that you do whatever anybody asks you to do without any say. It means that you decide what to give. You create. You help people. You give of yourself to people. You open up to people on your terms in a way that feels good, that your intuition is sort of nudging you toward. Love is belief in oneness, a knowing of oneness. And how can there be any doubt that we're one? We're here existing on this plane, in this reality, in this mystical realm of life on earth. And if you walk down the street, you see dozens or hundreds of other people, and we're in the same space. And you think about everything that humans do. If you're on your phone interacting with someone else or you're texting someone else, how many thousands of people are behind that interaction who built those devices and those networks? Our food is made by how many pairs of hands and how many minds go into getting that into our mouths from where it was first planted, right? So everything we do is this massive collection of collaboration between thousands of people. We're on this one plane together. So we're one. That's the nature of reality in this dimension. Our minds are not operating on, our mind has thoughts that seem like it's in our head and isolated, but the reality of existence is that as soon as there's any doing involved or any actual being involved or anything, it goes into the realm of the oneness, that we're all sharing this same field. If somebody steals, we all lack. If somebody gives and creates, we all benefit. We're all connected, literally. Love is acceptance, unconditional acceptance of other people. It doesn't mean you have to like what their egos do, but you have to accept whatever they're going through. You have to accept what is in the world in general, in your life, situations and circumstances. Just accept that it is, so therefore it's accepted. It doesn't mean that you can't take action or can't teach or can't help someone grow or help or can't respond to a situation. But the starting point is always just total acceptance. Love is forgiveness, which is part of total acceptance. And it goes beyond that. Forgiveness is seeing past the ego. It's seeing past the error and saying, I know you did that, but I know on some level you're the same spirit, the same soul that I am. We're all one and we're all love deep down. So how do you see past that error? How do you point out that error and yet forgive on a more fundamental level, even if the person isn't really asking for forgiveness or apologizing? Love is freedom. You cannot really experience love unless you're open. Open mind and open heart. The minute you close your heart in general or close your mind, what happens is the energy gets cut off. You get depressed. People don't know this, but when you're wide open, when you first meet somebody new and you're just completely open to the person, it feels great. You don't even need to eat to get energy. You automatically have all this energy inside of you because you're open, because that's the source of energy. Just being wide open in general, the basic thought system of being open, open heart, open mind. And that's, of course, freedom. Your soul wants to be free. Your love wants to be free to flow. Love is eternal. It's not something that ever dies. It's the most real thing. It's indestructible. Nothing can change it. True love. Unconditional, perfect love. It's not conditioned based on, somebody didn't do something right, therefore I don't love you anymore. That's not love. That's an arrangement, right? So if you really do some research and do some reading and meditating on some of this, there's a lot to work through, right? Jealousy is a big one. Jealousy is the most difficult one to work through. Possessiveness, and often I think people who practice self-love and kind of get into this stuff, they kind of go around acting like they don't need other people. They don't need a partner in life. I think we do need a partner in life. I think that it's a basic human need to go through life alongside someone, at least one person. The thing is, but you can't cut to that step or to that reality without going through the process of finding self-love first, understanding what perfect love is. And if two people can do that and then agree to spend time together because they fit for other reasons, because their lives fit for some reason, it's just total bliss. You can live that way without any struggle. No rules, no threats, no shaming, no blaming. And that's the way to go through life. That's the way to do business. Just the same way you would treat someone you love is the way you should treat all your business partners. And a big one here, I didn't even mention this, is honesty. Just be honest about what you feel, about who you are, about what you've done, about what you want to do. There's no way to allow love to do its thing, which is closeness. Love is this shared connection between people. And that connection can't happen if you're not being honest and accepting the other person's honesty unconditionally. Nobody's doing this. Very few people are doing this. I've been living this way for about 4 years, and it works. My partner and I, we just don't argue. We don't ever tell each other what to do. We don't ever judge what anyone's doing. We just let everything be as it is. And it's this wonderful feeling, and we allow that love to extend even out into the world to other people and so forth. And it works. It works in business. It works when you're creating something. It works in trying to sort through your crazy monkey mind. Are my thoughts loving? If so, that's it. If there's a prayer, and I do, sometimes I say a kind of a quick prayer to the universe, to God, whatever, just let me align with perfect love. And that's it. Because whenever I've done that, everything works perfectly. There is no conflict. There's no ups and downs. Everything just flows perfectly. And that's what awakening is. That's what spiritual awakening is. There's other ways to get there. There's the present moment awareness route. I've even discovered that just perfect honesty alone is spiritual awakening. If you can really do that and want honesty everywhere in your life, there's different ways to get there. But if you can truly align with faith, total faith in perfect love, total destruction of the ego as your intention, observe your thoughts, you've awakened, and it's accessible right now. Obviously this podcast is not enough. It was a little bit, quick through some areas. You can read my book, Be Love. You can read, I'm sure you can find a lot of excellent books on what love is, but definitely I would start with Don Miguel Ruiz and what is that guy, Thich Nhat Hanh or something like that. I forget his name. Yeah. I hope that's useful. I don't really, try to define love enough because it's not that easy to do in a world where the word doesn't mean that much anymore. But these are just words, right? The truth is found beyond words, as Eckhart Tolle always says. Words are just signposts pointing to some truth. The word itself isn't the truth, and certainly the words here in this podcast were not the truth. But I hope they helped sort of point to a truth that deep down is true. So I'll leave you with one of my songs, an Abscondo song. And this is actually my most popular song ever. I didn't realize this until a few weeks ago. But this song has like hundreds of thousands of downloads, and it's the last song on my first album way back in 2008. It's a very simple song, and it's called Sentiment. Thank you for joining me on the Abscondo Podcast.
my working days are through, and my day is filled with you. When we play another tune, will it be old? And when I stand undressed with you, and we're old, will we see through? When a life that came and went is now sentiment. How soon it came and how soon it went. Just memories been saved. When a lifetime is spent, I'd still do the same sentiment. While we're free and have our youth, swim with me, forget your suit. Carry everything we do as we go. Will we still know what to do when we've danced and had a few? When a life that came and went is now sentiment. How soon it came and how soon it went. Just memories been saved. When a lifetime is spent, I'd still do the same sentiment. No need to argue, I'll stand beside you. You've always been for me. Have I ever told you your absence won't do? 'Cause you're a piece of me. We'll watch the pigeons flying by. In the distance a baby cries. Think of everyone we knew long ago. I'll be such a lucky guy if you're with me on the day I die. When a life that came and went is now sentiment. How soon it came and how soon it went. Just memories been saved. When a lifetime is spent, I'd still do the same